Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Pious Football, where we give you all the latest in transfer news. We do a tactical analysis of games and also talk about pertinent issues around football that you don't hear on mainstream European media. Now, last night was a night of cup games across Europe. A lot of the European leagues were playing their, domestic cup matches. At England, there was the Carabao Cup, what we used to call the Carling Cup or the League Cup. Okay, and the first story that I want to bring to you is at the camp of Manchester United at Old Trafford. There was another disaster at Old Trafford. Newcastle pummeled Manchester United 3-0. Very, very disappointing. Of course, a lot of United fans, some of them were confident that at least in the Carabao Cup, which we won last year, our form will not replicate what we were showing in the league and in the Champions League. But unfortunately, the disaster continues for Erik ten Hag and his men. Old Trafford now becoming the theatre of dreams is now probably at the theater of nothing, because a lot of the fans come to the stadium to watch matches to dream about a possibility of silverware, but now it looks like nothing is happening on the horizon now. On the day, Newcastle played more or less a sort of a team B. They rested some of their key players, and of course they had Almiron coming on somewhere in the second half, and also a player like Anthony Gordon, who is more or less a starter for the club, also starting on the left wing for Newcastle United. But fortunately for Manchester United, they started with their first team, except for Rasmus Højlund also on the bench, Rashford on the bench, Bruno Fernandes on the bench. So basically, I think that was the only change that you could say that affected United on the day. Erik ten Hag, deployed a 4-2-3-1 formation as he's always played. On the day, Amrabat and Casemiro starting in the midfield, but unfortunately Casemiro got injured and had to be taken off at halftime. And then of course we have to deal with the issue of injuries as well. So Rafael Varane at the beginning of the game was left out because of illness, and then injuries are sort of becoming a problem for Erik ten Hag this season. But of course, we cannot attribute any defeat on the pitch to boardroom mismanagement. Of course, this is the worst home start for Manchester United since 1930. So I mean, of course, very bad results, very bad records being set by Erik ten Hag. And also, of course, Erik ten Hag, a lot of people are now calling for the sack of the manager. We have a game against Fulham on Saturday, and a lot of people, the pundits, are saying that if the manager doesn't win the game against Fulham, then probably he should be sacked. But my personal opinion here on Pious Football is that how long are we going to keep sacking managers? Okay, we've chopped and changed managers since 2014, since the first time David Moyes was sacked. We've changed managers for a long time, and there seems to be a trend at Old Trafford that players, if they are unhappy with the tactical deployment that the manager is trying to make, then they try to play the way they want and then get the manager sacked. It's been classic Jose Mourinho style. We got Van Gaal sacked, they got Mourinho sacked, they got Ole sacked, and now it's Erik ten Hag. So I think that my personal opinion is that Manchester United should stay with Erik ten Hag no matter what happens. Erik ten Hag must stay at the club. We know his pedigree. We know that he is good. We saw what he did with Ajax, and so we cannot discount the fact that there is, a very smart brain, at the dugout at Old Trafford. So what we need to do at this moment, per my personal opinion, is that Manchester United need to trust the process. Manchester United need to stay with, Erik ten Hag, and then, drum out that message to the players that we will not allow players to get managers sacked. We cannot make Manchester United a graveyard for players and managers all alike. Okay, we need to put out that message that the club will always stand by the manager. So if you are a player and you don't want to respond to the tactical instructions of the manager because you don't want to work extra hard for the team, then you are the one who is going to be sold. The manager is not going to be sacked. I think that that is the solution to this problem. We cannot keep sacking managers. It's not going to solve anything. Those who are calling for the sack of the manager, of course, I mean, it's very difficult moment for every Manchester United fan, but we cannot keep, calling for the sack of every manager when the results we want are not coming through. The players need to get the message. They need to respond to the tactical instructions of the manager, and I'm sure that everything will be fine. So, of course, this is going to be a very disastrous season for us, looking at the fact that we are currently 8th on the Premier League table. We are out of the Carabao Cup, a trophy we won last season. The FA Cup might not, produce any more any promises considering how we are playing. If it starts somewhere in January. And we are probably going to be out of the Champions League. So the way things are going, our season is almost done. But we need to use this season to deal with these issues that, the players are trying to, avoid responding to tactical instructions from Erik ten Hag. Also, my next story is at the camp of West Ham. They won against Arsenal. They hammered Arsenal 3-1 at the London Stadium. It was a night where West Ham were, very, feisty. The players were very feisty. They, hounded and, hurried the Arsenal players out of possession. One of the things that worries these big clubs, so-called big clubs in cup matches, is that they try to rest, their players, and then take some time off, let off some steam, okay, so that they can rest for the proper games that are coming up in the league and in the Champions League. But of course, if you are one of those mid-table clubs, you have to take advantage of the fact that Arsenal will play their team B. Of course, Jorginho and Fabio Vieira, who started in midfield, did not really help the occasion. And of course, Kai Havertz also suffering from a bit of shot in confidence, didn't help himself, on the game yesterday. But kudos to Jared Bowen and Mohamed Kudus for getting the goals, and of course, an own goal from Ben White. So of course, Arsenal advanced to the next stage of the competition. West Ham, advanced to the next stage of the competition. So that is, also Declan Rice coming back to his former club, coming back to the London Stadium. But of course, it is a baptism of fire for Declan Rice. He lost the game, and of course, he being rested on the day. He came on in the second half when the game was almost lost to try and rescue the situation. But of course, West Ham were in no mood to let go of their lead, of course. And West Ham made sure that Arsenal couldn't get back in the second half. Declan Rice, it means being rested for this game actually shows how far he's come in his career. It means that Arteta values him as a first team player. And of course, looking at the money that he spent to sign him, it shows that Declan Rice is actually now an A-list player. And of course, West Ham will be happy to have him back playing at the London Stadium. But of course, he lost, which is what the West Ham fans will be hoping to happen in the league as well. Of Blackburn Rovers, the Championship side, lost 2-0 to Chelsea. On the day, I think that Pochettino did really well. I mean, they suffered a very shocking defeat at the weekend in the Premier League, but they sort of tried to recover. I think that overall, Pochettino and the new look Chelsea team should be given time to, get things right. It's not going to be easy. Games in the Premier League are very difficult to win because every team now is very resourceful and they have the finances to, fund their projects. So it's not easy to win a game in the Premier League or against Premier League teams. So I think that Chelsea should be given the time to, try and recover and get their stuff on track. Also, I want to talk about the fact that, Pochettino after the game said that he wanted to make sure that, match fitness was key in their subsequent games. Of course, Chelsea has suffered a lot of injuries this season, so he would want to rotate his side very well to make sure that the players don't overplay to affect their match fitness and performance. And one of those players who was taking off immediately Chelsea got their second goal was Reece James. Now the captain, the Chelsea captain, has suffered a lot of injuries this season, a lot of fitness issues, with Reece James. But of course, we know the quality that he has, one of the best right backs in the world, and he produced, constant threats for Chelsea on the right flank, sorry, and. It looks like Pochettino sees the value of his captain. So hooking him off after Chelsea are leading 2-0 is quite smart. And I think that, Reece James will be very useful to Chelsea this season if he can stay fit, okay? The key to Chelsea's success this season rests partly on Reece James, the captain, because when he plays from that right flank, he is a constant threat to opposing teams. And yesterday he proved it when he served, several threats, against Blackburn. I mean, a lot of the threats from Chelsea attack came from the right at the hands of Reece James. So, of course, winning 2-0 is always a confident booster, and it will help them to, get their form back into the Premier League games. Also, another victory for Liverpool. The Reds won a narrow victory 2-1 against Bournemouth, Premier League team. So, of course, it was always going to be difficult. But one thing that I want to talk about is, the consistency of Darwin Núñez. I think that this season he's beginning to set his influence on the team. And now he's beginning to get some sort of consistency up front. He got a goal yesterday. Cody Gakpo also on the score sheet. So, overall, I think that Liverpool have done themselves a huge favor, trying to qualify, especially looking at the fact that Manchester City are already out of the competition, and then the former winners of the Carabao Cup, Manchester United, have also been knocked out. So, of course, Liverpool are obviously one of the favorites to win the Carabao Cup this season. Also, another shocking, story yesterday was in Germany. Bayern Munich losing 2-1 to is it 2-1? Yeah, to Saarbrücken. Okay, Saarbrücken is actually a third tier team in Germany, and they lost 2-1 to Saarbrücken. The Team B players that Bayern Munich fielded on the day. Young talents, Matistel, and also the 20-year-old Franz Kreisig. And Matistel will need more time to exert their influence on the team, because, I mean, if you cannot win a game against a third-tier German side, considering the fact that they just won 8-0 against Darmstadt at the weekend. Okay, so very shocking result for Bayern Munich and, of course, Thomas Tuchel. Okay, so going forward, I think that Bayern will have to be very careful. It could derail their season if they are not very careful. Mind you, they are one of the favorites to win the Champions League, and they are second in the Bundesliga. Another thing that people are talking about is the fact that Harry Kane seems to have a bit of unlucky streak when it comes to winning trophies. The problems at Tottenham Hotspur, their inability to win silverware, is following him kind of a curse into the Bundesliga. They failed to win their Super Cup at the beginning of the season, and then now they are out of the cup competition, the DFB Pokal, which is kind of a trophy that a lot of people tip Bayern to win at least the list that they can do in the Bundesliga. So Harry Kane now out of another cup competition. So let's hope that it doesn't become a real problem for him at the end of the season. Hopefully he can win that silverware that has eluded his career for a very long time. Also, Dortmund advanced into the next round. Of course, that makes them favorites to win the DFB Pokal. RB Leipzig will also be in there, but their main threat now has been eliminated. So Dortmund are now kind of the favorites to win the German Cup. They beat Hoffenheim 1-0 at home. I think that Dortmund are now favorites to win the cup competition. Also, another important story on the football world is the fact that Gundogan, after the El Clasico disaster, Barca are currently reeling from their disaster, losing the El Clasico to Real Madrid, their rivals. And Gundogan has been complaining that Barcelona has not supported him. He says that the team Barcelona has not supported him ever since he made the move to the Catalan Giants. He says that in terms of finding a house, okay, in terms of moving, the transportation for his children for school, in terms of a host of other issues that he talked about. He feels that Barca have kind of neglected him and his family when they arrived in Spain. Of course, so Barcelona have responded by issuing an apology to the player. They said that they are very sorry that he feels neglected by the team, and that they will improve upon their personal engagements with the player. Of course, it's not really surprising considering the fact that Barcelona kind of at the beginning of the season were suffering from a bit of financial mess. Registering players with the La Liga board. They had issues with some of their registration. A player like Gundogan, for example, was only registered a day before their first league game. So, I mean, if you look at the chaotic scene at the boardroom level in terms of financing the club, in terms of registering players, it is then not surprising that some of the players might feel left out, in terms of personal engagements by the club. Also, another important information concerning this story is the fact that it is coming out by Catalan newspapers that some of the reserve team players have resorted to having second jobs, okay, to sort of finance their transportation to training with the Barcelona. So, I mean, it's all not looking good financially for the club. So let's see how they deal with it. Hopefully, it doesn't boil over into any more serious problems for the club. My final story for today is at the camp of FIFA, who have announced that important news is that Saudi Arabia has been given the nod to host the 2034 FIFA World Cup. Now, it is obviously a huge coup for the the Saudi Arabia football body, who have invested heavily in football, and they have done a lot of sort of soft advertisement to try and woo FIFA into considering them as an option for hosting the World Cup. Of course, finances is not going to be a problem. Building stadia is not going to be a problem. Of course, their fellow rivals in the Gulf region, Qatar, hosting a wonderful World Cup. So FIFA is expecting another wonderful World Cup to be hosted by Saudi Arabia. Their main rivals were Australia, who were thought to be contenders for the 2034 World Cup, but they have announced that they are no longer in the running to host the World Cup. So that leaves lone Saudi Arabia as the only contenders, and of course, that has made them automatically the only ones who are willing to engage FIFA on that level. So FIFA has announced that Saudi Arabia has been awarded the hosting rights for the 2034 World Cup. And of course, I'm sure that MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, and the football governing body in Saudi Arabia will be really excited by this news. So thank you very much for staying with me. This is Pious Football. Like, subscribe to my channel, Pious Football, for more news. Bye-bye.